Okay, so the question is, what really happened as far as our life is concerned? What has happened? Why there is so much suffering in the world? If it is not just the physical, there is mental and psychological disturbances, and we are struggling and struggling all our life, and then at the end we feel that we're living empty-handed. What happened? The spirituality says that number one reason for that is the ego. Ego is your self identification. We think that there is some entity like ego. There is nothing like that. The ego is derived by your context with objects, people, situations, things like that. My car, my house, same time, my relatives, even mental, my concepts, my belief, my ideas, my anger, my this, my that, all those things. We have set up ownership on so many objects and people and situations and all that. And every time you need to be described, you describe yourself with those things. One of them, and the most closest, is connection with your body. You have taken up belief that this body is me. And that's where all the problems come. So, center around that body, everything else is me plus mine. Combination creates your ego. But in reality, ego is continuously shifting all the time. Like we talked in the other talk, that when sitting, you're just sitting at home, you're a homeowner, then you drive a car, you become a car driver, then you go to the work, then you become whatever you are. All those things are continuously changing. We have no way to know that this is all fragmented. So just like the fan keeps on rotating, has individual blades, but when it rotates, it looks like a disc. Because all these things are happening so fast. This sansar means sansharan. Whatever moves all the time is sansar. So everything is moving, including your body is continuously moving. Your ideas are moving, your connections are moving, and whoever you think they are yours is also moving. House has a certain age. If you die in 70, 80, 90 years, your house may live to be 200 years, but at some point it will die. So same thing with sun and galaxies and moons and you know. So there is no way to really define you as a single entity. There is nothing like it's a collection of all these beliefs makes you believe that this is what you are. And that you can say that it's all fragmented. It's all fragmented. But how do you know all these things? Only when you meditate, you realize that your mind presents itself with zillions of thoughts. Now, try to analyze each thought is about somebody or someone and or something. And that's how these thoughts keep on wavering around. But the one that is observing these thoughts is not moving, it's steady, whatever is that may be. So, thoughts actually divide your mental psyche, your antarakash, they call. It's a sky that is, there is Baya Akash, there is Antarakash, there is a Chit Akash. So that Chit Akash get fragmented by your thoughts, even though they are not real, but they are there. Just the way we divide the time. Now, time is again a concept, as we already know, that some mind decided to divide the time and create the divisions. We call it time. But whether you divide it or not, it's eternity. There is no way to know when the time started, when the time will end, or whatever. And whatever we are dividing, what are we dividing? Don't know. So clocks give you the idea that this is 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and we keep on going, living our life according to that. These are all divisions. Time is divisions. And these divisions ultimately divide our mind. And this all this thing mind has divided into These divisions by the time, the thoughts, ideas, beliefs, people, all these divisions have exhausted ourselves. And it keeps us occupied so much that we never have fun in life. Every time you are thinking, you're connecting with someone or something. Either you're connecting with your past, either you're connecting with the future, but thoughts keeps on drifting you towards the sansar. But but the thoughts are dividing just like the time. Time has all these divisions. And yet, what connects all these things? That we don't know. And that's where the problem is. So, deeper states of meditation, you can realize that thoughts is not fun. Every time you think, you are using your awareness, mental energy towards that particular thought. And that drains you out, never leave you any peace and solitude that you would want to have. Even when you're sitting by yourself, you're continuously thinking. And thinking is painful, thinking is stressful. But one after another, thoughts keep coming. So, where is the fun? It's in between the thoughts. In a very microscopic way, there is something hidden between your thoughts. How do you know? Because when you meditate and you come out and you say, I had so many thoughts, how did you know? There must be series of so many thoughts, of course. The same way you said, I had so many dreams. One dream ended, another dream started, whatever happened. So anything that can be counted is dividing you. And divisions are the cause of suffering. So we need to be paying more attention to our meditation. In meditation, when you realize there are multiple thoughts, you have to calm down and just let the things happen. And suddenly, little by little, you will start realizing there is a microseconds of space in between. Just like the clouds are floating around. How do you know there are clouds? Not just one cloud, there are many clouds because each cloud is separated from the other by some amount of space in between, and that space is the sky. In a micro way, in a microscopic way, it is dividing, it's separating those clouds. Same way, our inner psyche is one continuous phenomenon. The consciousness is the spirit. It's indivisible, it's Advait. But the thoughts happen to be there. So, does that mean our consciousness disappeared? Consciousness is the source of joy in life. A joy by doing nothing. Every time you do something, you need to use the thoughts. You think that there will be a joy at the end of whatever you're doing. How long does it last? Just like thoughts, just like time, the joy also that arises lasts for only a short time and then it disappears. So, that kind of joy, you have to work hard for it. But for working, thoughts are needed, actions are needed, doing is needed. But in meditation, you learn how to be a non doer, just a witness, and will come to a point that you start realizing your true consciousness. Just being aware of the awareness starts getting you backwards, further back into your soul. And you start realizing that soul is formless, it's vast, it's infinite. So these thoughts cannot suppress it. It's like silence. Do your words destroy the silence? No. Before you speak the sentence, say, I am here, silence was already there. And then as soon as you finish your sentence, silence is still there. But what happened to the silence in between? I am here. Three words were separated by microscopic few microseconds that created the meaning of this sentence. I am here. If I say I am here, you cannot make out. So we have to start being able to perceive this existence of consciousness, this space of consciousness, intervening in between the thoughts also. So when you start realizing you realizing if thoughts are the suffering, where is the joy? Obviously, in the thoughtless state, when there are no thoughts, you will be filled with joy. Imagine you walking in a garden, you just goofing around, and suddenly you see a beautiful rose. Suddenly, you did not expect it to happen. You didn't expect the rose to be there. Suddenly, it catches you with its fragrance, with its beauty, and suddenly your mind stops. All thoughts stop. Stop by the beauty of that rose. And you think, then you became so happy to see the rose. Think again. It's not the rose. Rose was only a nimitt. It just happened to be that way. But it became responsible for shutting off your thoughts, because you may be thinking of 10,000 different things, not even paying attention until something beautiful came and suddenly shuts off your mind. The joy that arises in that moment is the joy of the consciousness, which has a built-in nature of, of joy within. So when that happens, the thoughts disappear and it unveils the joy which was already there. So where is this joy hiding? In between the thoughts, in between your breaths. In Shiv Puran, Shankar tells Parvati. Parvati asks, how can people reach you? So Shankar says, I am in this kumbhak state, antar kumbhak and bahya kumbhak, as we talked about all the time. When you're breathing in, you are doing something. You're doing an activity of breathing in. You are a doer. And when you breathe out, you're breathing out. You are a doer. You are breathing, you are an exhaler, inhaler and exhaler. But in between, say you take a deep breath, but you haven't started breathing out yet. There is a microseconds of pause in between. So Shankar says, I am hidden over there. You are conscious of your breathing, but you're not conscious of those kumbhak states, antar kumbhak and bahya kumbhak, both. So Shankar says, I am formless. I'm everywhere. I'm omnipotent, omnipresent. And I'm hidden in very subtle spaces like that. So if we start paying attention to our meditation and go deep further down, and you start teasing things out and the inner engineering happens, and all these things happen in a graphic fashion, that thoughts will be there dividing and the thoughtless state will be there, which is away. And there are no graphics. There is nobody has written anything, but the mind has a structure that it's when it starts rising, it's the graphic expression that happens in your psyche. And in that state, you realize that in between the thoughts lies the joy. So that's how in between the time lies the timelessness. So the consciousness is full of joy if we can start perceiving it. But just perceiving the consciousness is not enough. You have to relate with it. You have to become the consciousness. And consciousness is only the name. It's not just the consciousness. It's joy, it's love, it's compassion, it's friendship, it's philanthropy. Everything is hidden in that consciousness. And you become that. So far, you were thinker, thinking of so many things and wanted to run in the world and achieve things, and you were a desirer. So your desires were creating all these things. All of a sudden, you realize that something in between the desires, there is an emptiness. This emptiness is the nest of consciousness. And in consciousness, if you start connecting with its attributes, Sat, Chit, and Anand, you realize that you have a joy for no reason. Then you realize that thoughts are your enemy. Thoughts take you away from the joy. Thoughts take you away from the love, compassion. You may be walking around and not care about somebody suffering because you're too busy. But if you stay connected with your consciousness 24/7, beautiful virtues start arising from within. They are all beyond the time, beyond the sansar, which is ever changing and all fragmented. Sansar is fragmented, time is fragmented, thoughts are fragmented. Wherever there are fragmentations, there is duality. There is no peace. There is no bliss. There is no joy. Whatever you do at the mind level will not be pure. You may go and just help someone for and thinking that you did something big, but you may help them for certain reason. You love your spouse because she is or he is so and so. So those are conditions set by the mind. That's not unconditional love. Unconditional love can come only when you go beyond the mind. So unconditional love, friendship, compassion. So all these things, you leave them. You become the love. You become the joy. You become the compassion. You become the philanthropist. Not as a definition, you are that. That's the only way you amalgamate yourself with the consciousness. You become one. That there is no difference between you and the consciousness. You become that. And then you realize that all this time you had been wasting and suffering, thoughts, ideas, beliefs, frictions, negativities, they all walk away. And you fill yourself with the whole world of beautiful world of positivities, as I said earlier. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.